So picking up with number 22 here, again, you want to factor all denominators if possible. So this is already factored, that's already factored, this one's not. Let's factor that. And we're going to factor it to a plus 3, a minus 3. Everybody should be comfortable with factoring that quadratic binomial already. Okay, so right here, this is actually so easy that let's take the alternate approach here. It's kind of like if you had a 2, a 3, and a 6. You realize that you could change both the 2 and the 3 to become that 6. So if you see, you have a binomial right here, a minus 3, you have a binomial a plus 3, and over here is both of those binomials, a plus 3, a minus 3. So what's your LCD going to be? It's actually going to be the a plus 3, a minus 3. So we're going to change each of these fractions to become the fractions with the denominator a plus 3, a minus 3. And of course we have a minus between the first two fractions and a plus between the second two. So let's go back and ask ourselves, what do I do to this a minus 3 to get this new LCD a minus 3 times a plus 3? Obviously you're missing the a plus 3, so I want to multiply both bottom and top by a plus 3. But when you multiply the top by a plus 3, you have the 2a times a, that's going to be 2a squared, and then 2a times 3, that'll give you a positive 6a. That's how you get the numerator for the first one. Now the second fraction, you have an a plus 3, but you want it to be an a plus 3 times a minus 3. So you're going to multiply both bottom and top by that missing value, missing binomial, a minus 3. So when you actually multiply the 2a up here by that a and that minus 3, you're going to be distributing, so you're going to get 2a squared, and you're going to get minus 6a. And last but not least, what do you do to this denominator to get this denominator? Well, it's the same exact thing. That was your LCD, so you don't do anything to it. So you don't do anything to that 36. So you simply just bring it down. Okay, now that we have a common denominator on all three fractions, we know that our answer is going to be the fraction with that common denominator, a plus 3, a minus 3. And now from here, all we have to do is combine like terms on the numerators. However, notice that there's a minus sign, and what you're going to have to do there is that minus sign, you have to distribute it to both terms on the numerator, to the 2a squared and to the minus 6a. So that 2a is really going to become a negative 2a, and that minus 6 is really going to become a positive 6. So keep that in mind when we combine like terms. So when we start combining the like terms of 2a squared combined with the negative 2a squared, what happens? Cancels out. It's not there anymore. How about this positive 6a with this positive 6a? That'll be a positive 12a. Yay? Okay, and last but not least, we have a plus 36 from the third numerator, 36. And now, could we, this looks like our answer, but we always have to ask ourselves if we could continue factoring. Could we do anything with that numerator? Yeah, what could we pull out? 12. And if we pull out a 12, what's going to be left? What's going to be left? A plus 3. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the denominator has an a plus 3 also. So what does that mean? We could cancel the a plus 3 with the a plus 3. So our final answer is 12 over a minus 3. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. Get down to brass tacks here. Which one do you want to do, 23 or 24? 24. 24 looks fun. Take this to a party on a Saturday night. Turn on the lights, turn off the music, tell everybody to gather around. Instant popularity when you explain this question. Yes. So number 24, what we need to do is take this in parts. All right? We need to take this in parts. Now, what do I mean by that? Focus in on the numerator and just pretend that that's the only thing that you see. Pretend that this is the only thing that you see. So what do we have here? We have subtraction of two fractions. Let's work this out and let's get an answer. All right? And then we'll worry about the bottom part. So once again, I'm going to focus in on the top part. I want to ignore, you know what, let me do this. There you go. Let me block out the denominator for a little while. So if I have those two fractions with those two different denominators, what will my common denominator be? If I have an r here and an r plus 2 over here, my LCD will be both of them multiplied together. So r times r plus 2. R times r plus 2. Are you with me? Okay, so how am I going to change this r to become r times r plus 2? Well, obviously I need to multiply it by r plus 2. And what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I need to multiply the top by r plus 2 as well. However, there's a binomial up on top, so I need to put it in parentheses, and I need to start distributing. R times r, r squared, right? R times 2 is 2r, but 6 times r is 6r. 2r plus 6r will give you 8r as your middle term. And then the 6 times 2 is 12. Are you with me? I hope so. Now, if we look at the other denominator, the r plus 2, and I need it to be r plus 2 times r, obviously there's a times r that's missing, so times r up here on top, so you're going to have an r on top. Are you with me? I hope so. 2 people are with me. Okay, watch the video. Anyway, now that we have a common denominator on both, I could combine the top with the top, and my answer will be over that common denominator r times r plus 2. So when I start combining, I have an r squared that I can't combine with anything else up on top. So that is the first part of my answer, r squared. Okay, and then the 8r, the positive 8r, I could combine it with this minus r. So what is 8r take away r? 8r take away r is positive 7r. And last but not least, we have a 12 that I can't combine. So let me just move this over and put a 12 up there also. Plus 12. So ladies and gentlemen, if this were the only thing that was asked of us to subtract these two fractions, we would get this as an answer. Unless, well, let's just leave it like that for now. Later on I'll factor. But the truth is, we also have this denominator down here. Okay? So far, we have the above answer divided by the below fraction. So in order for this to make more sense, I have the answer up here, and I need to divide it by the below fraction. So there it is. We got an answer for subtracting the two top fractions. I got that answer, and now I'm going to divide it by the below fraction. There it is. So we could focus in on this division problem of those two fractions. Now we know that division becomes multiplication as long as we flip the second fraction. So the first fraction, I'm just going to rewrite it. There it is. And the second fraction, I'm going to change it to multiplication, and I'm going to flip it. So the r squared plus 2r that was on the bottom is now going to be up on top. And the r to the second plus 4r plus 3 is going to be on the bottom. Okay, so now we have two fractions that are being multiplied. And of course, we want to factor anything possible to be able to get multiplication, to be able to cancel things out. So let's rewrite both fractions, the multiplication between them, and let's factor. This top quadratic trinomial, we could rewrite it as the parentheses with the r, and we need to think what times what is 12 that if I combine together is 7?
3 and 4.
3 and 4, so positive 3, positive 4, right? That's factored. The denominator was already factored from the LCD that we did on that problem. There it is. And the top right, the numerator up here, what could I factor out? An r. And what would be left over if I factor out an r? R plus 2. And on the bottom, we could also factor r here, r there, and we think what times what is 3 that if I combine together is 4? Well, that'll be a positive 3 times a positive 1. That'll give you 3, and if you add it together, it gives you 4. So we really have this multiplication problem of the two fractions that are now factored which means that we could now cancel anything that's alike on top and bottom. So the r plus 3 cancels with the r plus 3. The r plus 2 cancels with the r plus 2. This r down here cancels with this r up here. Those are gone. And the only thing left is r plus 4 over r plus 1. Ladies and gentlemen, that was fun. That is your answer. Fun stuff.